Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story begins on a quiet afternoon inside one of the oldest universities in the city, a place known for producing brilliant minds, famous scientists, and proud professors who believed there was no equation too difficult for them to solve. Students hurried through the halls carrying books, whispering about exams, projects, and impossible homework. But no one noticed the man quietly mopping the marble floor near the mathematics department. His name was Daniel, the university's janitor. Most people barely looked at him. To them, he was just the quiet guy who cleaned classrooms after lectures ended. But what no one knew was that Daniel had a secret relationship with numbers. Every night, after the building emptied and the lights dimmed, Daniel would walk into empty classrooms, stare at the chalk, and read the equations professors had left behind. Sometimes he would pick up a piece of chalk and try solving them. Mathematics fascinated him. Numbers felt like puzzles waiting to be unlocked. Unfortunately, life had never given him the chance to study at the university. Years earlier, his father had become sick, and Daniel had to leave school to work and support his family. The janitor job was the only stable work he could find near books, near learning, near the world he secretly loved. Most professors never noticed him, except one. Professor Victoria Hale was famous across the campus. Brilliant, confident, and sometimes a little arrogant. She was known for giving students equations that made even top scholars panic. Her lectures were always full, not just because of her intelligence, but also because people admired her bold personality. She believed genius deserved recognition and mediocrity deserved silence. One evening, she stayed late preparing a special problem for the next day's lecture. It was something she had been working on for weeks, a complex equation that mixed advanced calculus with theoretical mathematics. Even some of her colleagues had trouble understanding it. Victoria smiled proudly as she wrote the final symbols across the giant chalkboard. That was when she heard the soft squeak of a mop behind her. Daniel quickly lowered his eyes. "Sorry, Professor, I didn't mean to disturb you. I can come back later." Victoria waved her hand casually. "It's fine. I'm leaving anyway." She grabbed her bag, but before walking out, she looked back at the board, then suddenly laughed to herself. "You know what?" she said jokingly, crossing her arms. "If anyone in this university can solve that equation, I might as well marry them." She said it playfully, mostly to amuse herself. After all, even top mathematicians would struggle with it. Daniel glanced at the board for only a moment, then quickly looked away again. Victoria noticed. "What?" she asked with a smirk. "Don't tell me you understand it." Daniel shook his head nervously. "No, professor. I was just looking." She chuckled and walked out of the classroom, the sound of her heels echoing down the hallway. But Daniel didn't leave. The classroom fell silent. The giant equation stretched across the board like a mysterious code. Numbers, symbols, integrals, and strange variables danced together in a complicated pattern. Daniel slowly stepped closer. He whispered to himself, "Interesting." He picked up a small piece of chalk. Minutes passed. Then more minutes. The janitor began writing carefully beneath the professor's equation. Step by step, he rearranged symbols, simplified expressions, erased parts, rewrote them again. His eyes sharpened with focus. The world around him disappeared. To Daniel, this wasn't impossible. It was beautiful. An hour later, the chalk dropped from his fingers. The solution sat quietly on the board. Daniel stared at it, unsure if he should erase it or leave it. Finally, he wiped his hands on his uniform, turned off the lights, and continued cleaning the hallway like nothing had happened. The next morning, the classroom buzzed with excitement. Students gathered around the board before the lecture began. "Wait, what?" one student whispered. Another leaned closer. "Someone solved it." The entire room erupted into confused chatter. Professor Victoria walked in confidently, expecting another normal lecture. But when she saw the board, her step stopped instantly. Her smile disappeared. Every line of the solution was written clearly beneath her equation. Perfectly, logically, beautifully. For a long moment the room was silent. Victoria slowly approached the board. She studied each step carefully. The deeper she looked, the more her expression changed from curiosity to confusion to shock, because the solution was correct, not just correct. Elegant. Someone had solved her equation in a way she hadn't even considered. A student nervously laughed. "Ooh, Professor, looks like someone wants to marry you." The class burst into awkward laughter, but Victoria didn't laugh at all. She turned to the room. "Who did this?" No one answered. Students looked at each other, shaking their heads. "This is not a joke," she said seriously. "Who solved the equation?" Still silence. Finally one student spoke. "It was already there when we arrived." Victoria stared back at the board again. Then she noticed something strange. The handwriting was messy, uneven, almost like someone not used to writing on academic boards. Suddenly, a memory flashed in her mind. The janitor. That quiet look he gave the equation. Her heart skipped. Without saying another word, she walked out of the classroom, leaving the confused students behind. She searched the hallway until she heard the familiar squeak of a mop. Daniel was cleaning near the staircase. "You," she said. He looked up nervously. Yes, Professor. She crossed her arms. Did you go into my classroom last night? Daniel hesitated. I cleaned it. Yes. Her eyes narrowed. Did you touch the board? He stayed silent. That was enough for her. Victoria grabbed his arm and led him back into the classroom where dozens of curious students watched. She pointed to the equation. Solve it again. The room went completely quiet. Daniel looked embarrassed. Professor, I should get back to work. Solve it. She repeated. Students whispered among themselves. The janitor slowly approached the board. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up the chalk. But once he started writing, something changed. His movements became calm, confident. Line after line appeared across the board as he explained softly, almost like thinking out loud. Students leaned forward in disbelief. Victoria watched every step carefully. Again, the solution formed perfectly. When he finished, the chalk clicked quietly onto the tray. Silence filled the room. Then, someone gasped. Another student started clapping. Within seconds, the entire class erupted into applause. Victoria didn't clap. She simply stared at Daniel, as if seeing him for the first time. Where did you study? She asked quietly. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't. The class laughed, thinking he was joking, but he wasn't. He explained slowly how he used to love mathematics as a child, how life forced him to leave school, how he read textbooks people threw away, how he practiced equations alone at night after cleaning classrooms. The room grew quiet. Again, Victoria felt something unfamiliar. Humility. For years, she had believed talent only existed inside prestigious offices, expensive universities, and famous research labs. Yet, the person who solved her impossible equation was the man cleaning the floors. She looked back at the board. Then back at Daniel. Do you realize, she said softly, that what you just did, most professors here cannot do? Daniel shrugged awkwardly. I just like numbers. A student whispered, this is insane. Another said, he's a genius. Victoria suddenly remembered the joke she made the night before. Solve the equation, and I'll marry you. Face turned slightly red. The class remembered too. Laughter filled the room again. One student shouted, Professor, you promised. Daniel nearly dropped the mop. No, he said quickly, panicking. That was a joke. Victoria tried to maintain her composure, but couldn't stop a small smile. Relax, she said. Marriage proposals require at least 2 equations. The class laughed again, but inside, Victoria felt something deeper than humor, respect. That afternoon, the story spread across the entire university. Students rushed to see the janitor who solved the impossible problem. Professors debated the solution in offices. Some refused to believe it, so Victoria invited Daniel to a private meeting with the mathematics department. They gave him another problem. Harder. He solved it. Then another. Solved that too. By the end of the meeting, the room was silent with disbelief. One elderly professor leaned back in his chair and whispered, where has this man been hiding? Daniel simply smiled nervously. For the first time in years, he wasn't invisible anymore. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. The university offered him a scholarship, not as a cleaner, but as a student. When Victoria told him the news, Daniel thought she was joking. I'm too old, he said. Nonsense, she replied. Mathematics doesn't care about age. His eyes filled with emotion. For years he had quietly loved numbers from the shadows. Now the door, he thought was closed forever, was suddenly open. The first day he walked into class as a student instead of a janitor. Everyone stood and applauded. Daniel laughed awkwardly. Please sit down before I run away. Even Victoria laughed. Life at the university changed after that. Students became kinder to staff members. Professors paid closer attention to quiet people in hallways. Because genius, they realized, doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it carries a mop. And sometimes the person everyone overlooks is the one capable of solving the impossible. Months later, during a campus celebration, one student jokingly brought up the famous promise again. Professor, he said loudly, the equation was solved. What about the wedding? The crowd burst into laughter. Victoria rolled her eyes dramatically, then glanced at Daniel with a playful smile. Well, she said, he's still working on the second equation. Daniel grinned. And for the first time in a long while, the janitor who loved numbers felt like he truly belonged. And that is the story of the equation that changed everything. Sometimes the world underestimates people based on titles, jobs, or appearances. But talent has a funny way of revealing itself when the moment is right. So the next time you walk past someone without noticing them, remember, they might just be solving a problem no one else can, and who knows, they might even surprise the entire world.